Good evening and thanks for tuning in to KMOT First News at 10. A familiar face will lead the Minot Police Department while the city searches for a permanent police chief, the current interim chief. At tonight's city council meeting, the council voted to keep acting chief Dale Plessas in that position during the search. City manager Harold Stewart had recommended the city hire Dennis Otternis, a retired police chief out of West Fargo, as the interim chief. But Councilmember Lisa Olson moved to go with one of Stewart's alternative options of keeping Plessas in that role.
Allowing Captain Plessas, who has been the interim chief, to remain on for the next few months until we could find the permanent replacement or permanent chief would be the best for the morale and the healing of the police department.
Stewart credited Plessas for his service to the city and efforts leading the department, but said he recommended an outside voice lead the department in the interim for a reason.
I believe at this time that we need someone that comes in with no historical knowledge and connection, no emotional connections, no relationship connections, but has the knowledge, the skills, and the experience to lead this department forward to where they need to go. And in essence, help us as an organization identify our blind spots.
Now, the vote was 5-2 in favor of keeping Plessas as acting chief. The city also agreed that since they would stay with him, the department would not make major internal changes until the permanent police chief took over.